All right, let's get right into it. The world of hair loss treatment can be, well, it's a mess of conflicting advice, right? Today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're breaking down an expert surgeon's reaction to a super popular explainer on hair loss, all to find out what actually works. And look, this is a big deal for a lot of us. Just look at this number. By the time they're 50, about half of all men and women are dealing with noticeable hair loss. So if you're going through it, you are definitely not alone. Understanding the real science here is absolutely the first step. So here's the game plan. We're going to follow Dr. Gary Linkov, who's a hair restoration surgeon, as he listens to and clarifies some key points made by neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman. Now, this isn't about one expert versus another. It's about combining their knowledge to give you and me a much clearer picture.
Okay, let's kick things off with the two biggest names in the game, minoxidil and finasteride. You've almost for sure heard of them, but there's a huge misunderstanding about what each one really does.
First on the list, minoxidil. You probably know it as Rogaine. Now, the common story, like the one you see here, is that it works by cranking up the blood flow to your scalp. And hey, that makes sense, right? More blood, healthier hair. But that's not the full story. In fact, it's not even the most important part.
And here is the crucial clarification from Dr. Linkov. He makes it really clear. Minoxidil isn't designed to stop you from losing hair. Its main job is all about changing the quality of the hair you've already got. To really get that, we need to talk about two different kinds of hair. So think of it like this. When you have hair loss, those nice, thick, healthy terminal hairs shrink. It's a process called miniaturization, and they turn into these tiny, fine, vellous hairs, basically peach fuzz. What minoxidil does, its real superpower, is it helps reverse that. It pushes those wimpy vellous hairs to grow back into stronger terminal hairs. So it's a hair improver, not so much a hair saver. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. Any benefits you get from minoxidil, they only last as long as you keep using it. The moment you stop, those hairs that got thicker are probably going to shrink right back down. So yeah, it's a real commitment. This chart just lays it all out perfectly. You see minoxidil over on one side, working on hair quality, but then you have finasteride. Its job is to go after the root cause. It literally blocks the enzyme that creates DHT, which is the hormone that's strangling the follicles in the first place. One improves, the other defends. They do totally different things. So what's the bottom line here? It's simple. If you had to pick just one medication to actually stop hair loss from getting worse, Dr. Linkov couldn't be clearer. Finasteride is the one. It's the foundation. Minoxidil is a great helper, but finasteride is the one doing the heavy lifting to halt the loss. Okay, now we're going to wade into some slightly trickier water. This is an area where these two experts actually have a pretty significant disagreement, and it's all about hormones. So here's the question. Can you help your hair by boosting things like growth hormone and IGF-1? I mean, you hear this stuff in anti-aging circles all the time. They're linked to growth and youth, so they've got to be good for your hair, right? Well, Dr. Huberman points to this idea, suggesting that, yeah, maybe boosting IGF-1 could be a way to get more hair growth. And on the surface, it makes perfect sense. More growth factor equals more growth. But, and this is a big but, Dr. Linkov sees a major problem with his theory, and he bases it on what he's seen in the lab and in his clinic. And here is the potential trap. Dr. Linkov explains this chain reaction. Step 1, you boost growth hormone, and yep, your IGF-1 goes up. But step 2, that extra IGF-1 can also ramp up production of DHT. And step 3, DHT is the exact hormone that causes pattern hair loss. So, you could end up trying to help your hair, but accidentally hit the accelerator on losing it. It's a really critical point to think about.
All right, so besides the two big meds and that whole hormone debate, what else is out there? Let's do a quick fire round of some of the other tools that are part of the conversation.
We've got three main supporting players here. First, there's topical caffeine, the stuff you find in some shampoos. Then there's saw palmetto, which is kind of like a much weaker version of finasteride. And finally, ketoconazole shampoo. It's great for fighting scalp inflammation, which helps create a better environment for your hair to grow.
Okay, so let's circle back to the real heavy hitter we talked about earlier, finasteride. We need to build a solid blueprint around it, because knowing how to use it right is everything. And wow, when you look at the numbers, they really speak for themselves. For men, this stuff is an absolute game changer. We're talking about it stopping hair loss in about 90% of guys who take it. Now for women, the results aren't quite as dramatic, but you're still seeing real, measurable improvement. It's a key difference to know. Here's another one of those myth versus reality moments. A lot of people think that the topical liquid finasteride is just as good as the oral pill. But Dr. Linkoff really pushes back on that. He says, look, we just don't have the data to prove it. The oral pill is still the gold standard because you know exactly how much your body is absorbing.
So how does an expert actually use this with patients? Well, this is a very standard, logical protocol. You start with the proven winner, 1 milligram of the oral pill every day. If, and that's an if, any side effects show up, you just lower the dose. And only if they still persist on that lower dose do you even start thinking about switching to a topical version.
And this, right here, is really the crucial takeaway from all of this. When it's done right, under a doctor's care, the evidence is just overwhelming. Finasteride is the single best tool we have to stop hair loss in its tracks for the vast majority of men.
So, we've untangled what the two main medications actually do. We navigated a pretty complex debate about hormones, and we laid out a real-world expert plan. The science is a whole lot clearer now, so the only real question left is the one on your screen. Now that you have this expert insight, what's your first step?